So one of the biggest questions you have before making the move to Japan is like, what is going to be the cost of living there compared to my home country? So today I'm actually going to break down what my cost of living has been here in Kobe so far, and what my expenses were like in the UK as well, just so you have a compare and contrast. Now what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to add a third column here where it's going to be like the average salary here in Japan for an ALT, which is I imagine what a lot of people who come to Japan will be there for the first time. Now, for further context, of course, my cost of living in the UK was quite low compared to someone in London, because I'm from Grimsby, which is of course a lower cost of living than London. And here, of course, we're looking at Kobe's cost of living, not Tokyo's. So take all these figures with a grain of salt, do your own research as well after this video, but I hope this is helpful to show you what different ways of living are like in each country. So yeah, we're going to be going through first. Let's have a look at the income, which is important, because I'm going to be going after this every expense as a percentage of income as well in the on the graphics, so you'll be able to see what I would spend as a percentage of my income rather than what the raw number is, because the raw numbers can be a bit misleading at times, because you'll be thinking it's different if you come here on holiday, right? You're paying with your own money from your own country, your own income from your own country, and your salary is going to be most likely a lot higher in that country if you're from the US or the UK. So it's very easy to think, oh, things are so much cheaper in Japan, and when you come here and start earning the money that Japanese people will probably earn, it's a little more closer than you think. So let's go over everything first. First, we'll go on my UK income and what my background is. So I used to work in customer service / advertising for a small company in the UK. I used to earn around £1,700 to £200 per month. So in yen, that's around 400,000 yen, we'll call it 400,000 yen a month. And that's around $2,480 a month. So we're going to use the midpoint here of £1,850 for the percentages going forward. Now we'll go for my income in Japan right now. Now this includes rent from my UK apartment, my UK house rather, which I own and I'm renting out right now. So that actually accounts for around £204 of my income here. And on top of that, I have a part-time job here to support my language learning, which I earn around 90,000 yen a month in. So take these figures into account as well. That comes to a total of 139,000 yen, which is around £660 and $885. Now let's have a look at the typical ALT salary in Kobe. This is around 250,000 yen, and it is around £1,185 and $1,590. So you can see here, if we just compare my UK salary to the ALT salary, obviously ALT salary is lower than what my UK job would be. Right, so now we know all those things, like what I earned in the UK, what I earn now in Japan, and what I could potentially earn, say, if I decide to get a job as an ALT full time. Let's go over the expenses. Let's start with a big one first. Let's start with rent. So if you watched my apartment video, you already know my rent. If you haven't already, please check that out after this one. You will be able to see exactly what you could get with this number you're about to hear. So the rent is 43,000 yen a month, which is around £204 per month or $274 a month. This accounts for 31% of my current income, but if I worked full-time as an ALT, it would cost about 17% of my income monthly. Now in the UK, I had a 3-bedroom terrace house and I owned it, so I was paying mortgage payments on it. These were £462 per month. I will put in the cost with yen and dollars on screen for you because I don't want to keep having to do the conversion rate for you live. But this was about 26% of my UK income. So it's not a fair comparison because they're very different houses. Though I will say I'm much happier with my Japanese apartments. I have a nicer view. I have mountains. I have the sea. I have the city itself. And back in the UK, I had a view of a fish factory and Gaz walking home from the pub waddling away. But yeah, this of course is much smaller than my house in the UK. But equally, I owned my house in the UK, so therefore the cost there will be cheaper because I'm paying the mortgage rather than rent. The rent would have been much higher if I was renting it out. It would have been about £800 per month. So yeah, you can see it's a big saving in terms of rent here in Japan compared to the UK. But let's move on to the next part, shall we? It is utilities, and utilities was the one that surprised me the most when I moved here. There was a point in my moving here where I was still paying the bills for my UK house while it was empty, while we were searching for a tenant for that house. And what surprised me in the first couple of months of living here was my utility, gas, my electric, my water, all of that was cheaper, even though than my UK bills were. Even though the house was empty in the UK, I was still paying a lot more for my UK gas and electric bill than I was for my Japanese gas and electric bill, even though I was living in the Japanese apartment and no one was living in the UK one. All that was running there was a fridge and maybe some little background appliances here and there. So without further ado, let's show you the costs that they are right now. Gas and electric in my apartment here in Japan is around 4,000 yen a month. Water is about 1,500. This is a total of 5,500 yen, which is about £26 or $35. As a percentage of my income, my current income, this is a percentage of about 4%. If I was working full time as an ALT, it would be 2%. Now let's have a look at the UK in comparison. In the UK, my gas and electric was around £100 a month, with water being £40. This is a total of £140 per month, which accounted for about 8% of my income. So I'm almost double the percentage of my income as it is in Japan, which is crazy wild. And you can say, yeah, you had a bigger house in the UK, it probably needed more heating and such, but honestly, I didn't put the heating on that much in the UK. And I think my energy consumption is about the same. And yeah, I think energy costs in the UK are just significantly higher than in Japan. So even with much lower salary, I'm saving so much on gas and electric, it's unreal. But let's move on to something that's a little bit closer together here. Phone and internet. So phone and internet here costs me about 5,000 yen a month, or £24 and $32. This is about 3.6% of my monthly income, or if I was earning a full-time wage, 2%. Now in the UK, this cost me about £20 a month for the phone, £35 a month for the internet, a total of £55, which is 11,600 yen and $75, which is about 3% of my income overall. So we're seeing again the costs are lower in Japan. But this one's a little bit closer, and I think honestly, in terms of internet speeds and such, I was probably paying for a much faster internet speed in UK, and probably a little bit more for my phone as well, because I had a phone contract. So it's probably not a fair comparison here. Now transport, this one was a big one. So here in Japan, In terms of transport, I get the commuter pass. I spend about 11,000 yen on it. It gets me to work, it gets me to school, unlimited travel on the trains. And for my first few months here, I actually bought a bike for 30,000 yen. And that meant I wasn't taking the train in my first apartment for too long. So my transport costs were pretty much free because though I spent 30,000 yen initially on the bike, it pretty much paid for itself after about 3 months. And if you are in Japan moving the first time, that's my top tip. Get yourself an e-bike if you're wanting to commute locally. It'll save you a lot of money. But yeah, in the UK, especially in Grimsby, you need a car to get around. Overall, my car costs about £300 a month there. And that was around 63,000 yen a month, or $405. So let's break down the percentages there. So with my current Japanese income on transport expenses alone, I'm spending about 8% of my income on transport. If I was working full time as an ALT again, probably about 4%. In the UK, I was spending 17% of my income on transport costs alone. This is like commuting back and forth from work, for fuel from a car payments, all the car stuff really added up. So the fact that I don't have to have a car here anymore, and public transport is so convenient here, it makes it so much easier to live frugally by using public transport. Now food. Food's a difficult one to quantify, I think. Okay, I've estimated that my groceries here are around 40,000 yen a month. I think it's probably a bit lower than that. But for argument's sake, let's call it that. So it's £190 or $255 on groceries and eating out and stuff that's included in this. This is about 29% of my income currently. Or if I was say I was working full time as an ALT again, this is like 16% of my income, which is probably the more fair comparison to the UK one. Now in UK, I was spending £300 a month on food, or 63,300 yen, or $405. This was 17% of my income. Now I will say, like, the cost of food in the UK is higher, but this surprised me how close it was on the percentage. A little bit. I actually think in terms of like income levels, this one is actually remarkably close, and probably something that will surprise a few people if they come here and work in Japan and have a Japanese salary rather than their own. While tourists obviously see Japan as more, oh my god, the food's so cheap and reasonably priced, and it still is. Eating out is obviously more reasonable here than it is in the UK. And I'm more guilty of probably eating out more here than I am in the UK, even though I probably did a lot more Uber Eats and such in the UK, if I'm honest. So what does that look like in total then? So in total, my expenses in Japan, 109,000 yen. There we go, I got it in the end. And that's around 78% of my total income right now as a sort of language student that works part-time with income from my property in the UK. Now if I had like an ALT job, that would just be 44% of my income. Obviously if I work full-time, probably my cost of living would go up a little bit because of lifestyle creep, but yeah, overall I'd have more exposable income. Now in UK, my total costs per month were £1,257, which accounted for about 70% of my income. So we can see here, even though I earn far less in Japan, far less, living costs are still very manageable, especially compared to the UK. Hey there, Editing Adam here, and I realised I didn't mention things like taxes and health insurance and stuff like that. Now, as a language student, I don't actually pay that much in terms of like pensions or health insurance here. I pay like 2,500 yen a month for my health insurance here as a language student. Now I know that goes up considerably when you're working here, as well as like your pension contributions and stuff like that. So I didn't really take that into account when I was doing sort of the ALT income estimate on this percentage. So just something to consider there. I've also not obviously included things like entertainment, hobbies and stuff like that in this, but you can just assume like all that, like things left out, money left over after all these expenses can be used on like entertainment or put into emergency funds and stuff like that. So I thought I'd just note that before we go into the outro. Now I hope this video gives you a more realistic picture of what like the costs of living here are like. I know like some of my numbers probably won't be 100% accurate. I live quite frugally compared to most people. Like I'm not eating out too much. I'm not like going out drinking every night and stuff. I wasn't in the UK either. I'm quite boring in that regard. It's not like my lifestyle here isn't like a glamorous influencer lifestyle. It's a very real lifestyle of a language student working part-time in Japan. And I hope this was useful for you. And if you want more breakdowns like this, or apartment tours, or just daily life in Kobe, I'm posting one video every day for the first week of this channel. And after that, just one video a week, every week going forward. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been Adam. This is My Life in Kobe. I'll see you in the next one.